Back here with another team analysis for the NCPL, or the National Competitive Pokemon League. Today we're going to look at William R's team. Um, if you haven't been here before, this is your first team analysis. You'll see 5 attributes there. You'll see offense, defense, speed, hazards, and momentum. Each are rated out of 10, lowest being 0, and highest total score of 50, lowest being 0. Sorry guys, my allergies are acting up, so excuse me. So getting into his team, William drafted Mega Lopunny, Sylveon, Bisharp, Centiskorch, Cryogonal, Nidoking, Starmie, Gudra, Cofagrigus, Dodrio, Electrode, and Rhydon. So looking at his team before we get into things individually, his speed tier is pretty good. His speed tier offensively is okay. His speed tier in total is pretty good though. What I mean by that is generally you're not really going to see Starmie as like a really offensive Pokemon. It is very good like that, but I think it's there to boost momentum on his team with Flip Turn between Electrode, Starmie itself, and Sylveon. And I think that's what it's there for. But one of the other things to look at on his team is he has Nidoking. It makes him really hard to prepare for. I think this is one of William's best drafted Pokemon. And Cofagrigus as well. I think this is a Pokemon that people really overlook in draft because it's just low on the tier lists. But having the ability Mummy really helps this Pokemon break certain Pokemon, like Pokemon with Magic Bounce, Pokemon with Guts, those just being the most notable. I mean, you think about what would happen with a Pokemon with Guts. He goes to attack Cofagrigus. Cofagrigus will, depending what it is, but will survive. Could be 50%, could be 75%. Then that Guts Pokemon gets Mummy. Well, now it's burnt, and Cofagrigus has really high special and physical bulk. Maybe it pain splits you, or it sets up T-spikes now, and you're burnt and you can't do shit to it probably. So Magic Bounce is another one. I'm pretty sure it works like that. I'm not 100% sure on that. If you guys know if that's how it works, let me know. But I think the way Mummy would work on Magic Bounce is if I make contact with Cofagrigus, or Cofagrigus make contact with me, and I have Magic Bounce, I would then have Mummy. And what would happen is, now I can be Toxic, now I can be Will-O-Wisp, now I can be T-Waved, now I can set up Stealth Rocks. I mean, you wouldn't with Cofagrigus, but if they stayed in, you switched out. You get what I'm saying. And then of course he drafted, Mega Lopunny, Sylveon, and Bisharp, which are 3 extremely strong Pokemon in their own regard. Sylveon being a strong backbone to his team, being the Heal Beller and the Wish support, and a Fairymon. Bisharp being a good cleanup, a good sweeper, blocking Defog, blocking Intimidate. Is really oppressive, makes it hard for people to deal with. When you set up rocks or you set up screens. So it's opening the avenue for Electro to set up screens, which is, I'm assuming, what he drafted Electro for. So getting into these things individually though, offensively I rated his team at an 8. Sorry. I rated his team an 8. So he's got Mega Lopunny, Bisharp, Nidoking, Starmie, Dodrio, Centiskorch, Gudra, I would say are his typical offensive Pokemon. Starmie being kind of in between that pivoter / offensive Pokemon. But Mega Lopunny having access to Fake Out and U-Turn is pretty incredible. It can Fake Out, get the chip, and then probably because it's faster, in most cases, U-Turn out into something that's more reliable and can cover whatever hit Lopunny might take. And then you can just rinse and repeat that strat until Mega Lopunny or Bisharp can clean up And you know, that goes to show that William was drafting with at least a small bit of a plan in what he was trying to do between his Volt Turn Core and Mega Lopunny. So next we have Bisharp, Sucker Punch, Defiant, blocking Defog, blocking Intimidate. Super great Pokemon. I think it was not as high as I expected on the tier. I think it was tier 2, and I expected it to be like a tier 1. Just because it's so good in draft because it can block Intimidate and block Defog. So William getting Bisharp, pairing that with Electrode, well, now he gets screens up and he really deters people from trying to defog them away because, well, if they try and defog him away, Bisharp comes out. Now it's times to attack. It has Sucker Punch, and your team's probably going to take a pretty big hit from this Pokemon, if not just swept altogether. So after Bisharp, you got Nidoking. This is probably what people have the most problems with when trying to prepare for William, is Nidoking. With Fire Blast, Thunderbolt, Ice Beam, Sludge Wave, and Earth Power, and then Hidden Power, I mean, you wouldn't even need it because it has just such good coverage anyway. Unless it was something really niche. Like, you know, trying to prepare for Nidoking is really hard, and I think that's what scares people a lot when they're versing William is, holy fuck, they prepare 6 teams for Nidoking, and then, you know, Mega Lopunny cracks their team, or Bisharp breaks their team. Or they forget about, you know, other Pokemon's movesets, right? So, and they over-centralize on one Pokemon. So, really fantastic offensive draft by William. And then you got Dodrio, which is, I mean, it's a flying type, ground immunity, has flying attacks. I think it has knockoff, I'm not 100% sure. Decent attack, decent speed tier, but gets one hit by basically everything. So, then you have Goodra. You know, this Pokemon flies under the radar in about every single draft that I see. It can be run offensively, it can be run special attack, it can be run as a sap sipper, it can be run as a sweep stopper with Gooey. It's just, there is so much with Goodra that you can do. It has coverage, it has Energy Ball, it has Thunderbolt, it has Fire Blast, it has Ice Beam, it has Draco Meteor, it has Earthquake, it has everything, and it makes Goodra. This is what I foresee happening. People are over preparing for Nidoking, and then what happens is they over prepare for Nidoking, and then Goodra's got opposite moveset to cover, and then wham, fucking Goodra just, you know, takes out something on their team that they're totally not expecting, right? So, last but not least, honorable mention for the offense is Scentiscorch. He has a Rest Sleep Talk set. He does get a move called Fire Lash. Lowers their defense by 1. I think it's a 50% or 100%. I can't remember. I know that's a big difference, but it's one of those two, and that's still quite high to lower your defense by 1. So I don't exactly know what his plan with Scentiscorch was, or what it was to cover. Maybe just to have a fire type and threaten grass or bulky grasses with Fire Lash, like, you know, Mega Venusaur or Tangrowth or something like that. It also has access to Lunge, excuse me, which lowers the opponent's Pokemon attack. I think that's 100%. So I mean, having Lunge and Fire Lash, it's kind of good with the Rest Sleep Talk set, but being times 4 to Stealth Rocks is really bad. So, offense, I still rated an 8 though. You know, me not knowing about Scentiscorch too much and Dodrio having bad defensive stats does not bring his score down. He's got really strong picks with Mega Lopunny, Bisharp, and Nidoking, and then to complement it, he's got Goodra too, right? So, moving on, we got his defense. I rated a 7. Another thing to mention on William's defense here is that while he does have a lot of Pokemon that share weaknesses, like, you know, Mega Lopunny, Bisharp, and Dodrio and Caragonal, they're covered by things like Starmie, Cofagrigus, or you know, Goodra. So, you know, like I was saying, William has weaknesses, and Pokemon that share weaknesses, which is not really the greatest, but he has really optimal ways to cover them and to keep the momentum on his side of the game and keep them healthy with Sylveon. But so still good. He's not really bulky, I would say. Like, you know, like the Bulu Heatran Slowbro, but his defense works well for what he's trying to do with it. Electrode setting up screens for free because he has a 470 speed tier, and then Volt switching out into something that it can cover whatever incoming move there is, such as Starmie with Natural Cure if the Toxic is incoming, or if they think a Defog is incoming, they just go into Bisharp, or if, you know, they got a strong Fairy type attack incoming or a strong Dragon attack or something like that, you can go into Sylveon. Or a strong Fighting Dark attack going to Sylveon. You know, it just those two Pokemon, Starmie and Electrode, defensively work well together because getting those screens up allows him to get that momentum to go into Starmie, scout a move, and then okay, he scouted a move. The opponent's probably gonna switch. I'm gonna flip turn on the switch and get in an offensive Pokemon that has coverage like Nidoking or Goodra, still making it hard for the opponent to switch in whatever they want. So, and then, you know, last of the core, I would say, Sylveon. Sylveon being the backbone of them, keeping Electrode and Starmie healthy with Wish and Heal Bell. More so Electrode because Starmie has Recover and Natural Cure, but keeping Electrode alive so that he can get either Bisharp, Mega Lopunny, or Nidoking or Goodra in to do some damage is the goal of what Sylveon is there for. So another defensive Pokemon is Cryogonal. I didn't know this, but it does learn Defog. I just checked. I didn't really understand why he needed another Rapid Spinner, but it has really high special defense stats. It allows him to have a defogger if he needs defog, like if somebody's setting up screens or anything like that. It does give him that option, so he can threaten that. Gets Recover, gets Freeze Dry, so he can cover water types, which is covered in Nidoking and Starmie and Goodra, but regardless, covering water types is always good. Bulky waters are hard to deal with, so having that coverage is nice. And last, defensively, is Cofagrigus. I mentioned it earlier. This is a really spicy pick. It's very, very useful in draft, I would say, getting the ability Mummy and mummying to a Guts Pokemon and them losing Guts, or mummying to a Magic Bounce Pokemon and them losing Magic Bounce. It allows Cofagrigus to do whatever it wants to do. If it's planning to set up Toxic Spice, it's going to set up Toxic Spice. If he's planning to attack you, he's going to attack you. You know, the thing is like he gets Hex, and then, you know, he mummies a Guts Pokemon, well then he Hexes you. You take 120 from, or 120 base Hex stab, right? So really fantastic Pokemon in draft, I think, especially for 1 point. So I think that was a great pickup by William. Next we have Speed. I rated an 8. You got 470 with Electrode and 399, I believe, with Starmie. I think those are fantastic speed tiers, and then you got Mega Lopunny at 405, so really good. That 400 mark is that mark where you start to outspeed Scarfers and medium speed Scarfers, so that's quite good. Outside of those three Pokemon, though, you rely on Choice Scarf, Nidoking, and Sucker Punch Bisharp. I foresee if Mega Lopunny goes down and the other opponent has pretty fast Pokemon, it's going to put a lot of pressure on Starmie and Electrode to do damage while they can get it. So the rest of his team is quite slow, with the exception of Goodra being, I believe, 70 or 80, somewhere in there, and Dodrio. But the reason that I don't mention Dodrio too much is because I feel like its speed fails it, because even if it is fast, the opponent will probably survive one attack unless it's revenge killing. And its defenses are so low, it's just going to get one hit by a neutral stab move. You know, being weak to fighting too and flying is just is kind of sucky. So Taking 100% from a mock punch is not the greatest, especially when you got Bisharp and Low Punny who are also weak to fighting, and Cryogonal who are weak to fighting. I mean, covered up by Cofagrigus, but you understand what I'm getting at here. So speed though, I rated an 8. That's not bad at all. So that's quite good actually. It's because of those 3 400 mark Pokemon, Mega Low Punny, Starmie, and Electrode. Next we have hazards. So William has really good hazard defense in Rapid Spin from Starmie and Rapid Spin / Defog from Cryogonal, but he does not have hazards himself. I mean, he's got rocks in Nidoking, but you generally want the coverage on Nidoking to make him threatening. And he's got rocks on Rhydon, but the problem with Rhydon is I feel like every time he gets drafted, people think he's going to be really good, but then his 45 base special defense fucking lets him down, and he gets hit by a neutral stab special attack move, and it completely KOs him. And being weak to knockoff because of Eviolite is a really huge issue. His coverage isn't that great. He gets Rock Head and then doesn't get Head Smash, so it's a very strange Pokemon to not get Head Smash, and just a strange Pokemon in general. I feel like if he chose a Pokemon that could more reliably get rocks, or just be more useful, I feel like that hazard would probably be a 7.5 rather than a 6. Outside of Rhydon, he's got Toxic Spikes on Cofagrigus, and that's probably going to be his go-to since he can deter Defog with Bisharp. But if the Pokemon has or if the opponent has a Poison type Pokemon, I feel like those Toxic Spikes are really just not very useful. So, and then he becomes predictable. So, 6.5. I feel like the way he could clean it up is having a more reliable rocker for his team that's going to do more than just rocks and get knocked off. So but blocking Defog, he's got Bisharp, and he's got 2 Rapid Spinners, and he's got a Defogger, so I mean, still not bad, right? Just slightly above average though, nothing special. Last is Momentum. I rated an 8. Now his Momentum isn't like Chris's where it's like double Intimidate, go, attack. But his momentum between Low Punny, Starmie, Electrode are really good. And you could throw Cofagrigus in there for that fighting coverage. But between those 3, and Sylveon, sorry, I want to mention those 4 because what I want to mention is Electrode setting up screens, Volt switching into Starmie flip turning into Sylveon wishing into Low Punny, and Low Punny getting in for free, or just sending in Low Punny and getting those fake outs behind screens, and then you turning out after the fake out because it's generally faster into Electrode again, Volt switch, then flip turn, then Sylveon, and rinse and repeat, and he can continue to do this like a vortex, right? Until the opponent starts to make really big habits, and then he can try and make an offensive play like he did recently with the sub. So I think it's a really strong group of Pokemon. I wouldn't say it's like your typical core, but the ability to set up screens and then get in Mega Low Punny, fake out, you turn back out, go into Starmie, flip turn, or go into Sylveon, wish, go back into Electrode, set up screens again. It's just he had an idea for sure when he was drafting Electrode. And the Pokemon around it, or vice versa. So hats off to him on those 4 picks. I think they work really well together, and I think they're going to be really pivotal to his win. And then of course Nidoking getting in for free behind screens is just a huge problem. I mean, you have no idea what move he's going to click. He can cover basically everything. So it just overall, William has so many ways to push his game. And deter the opponents with the defog blocking, with the screens, defog blocking screens. It's just, Mummy, his momentum is really good. So definitely above average, and more so 2 points above average for sure. And I'd say 5 is average. So overall, I rated his team a 37.5. I think that's definitely a good rating. Like I said, there's good and there's really good, and I think Williams is very close, if not at that really good level. I think what would really solidify being really good is having a really reliable rocker to, not just deter defog from the screens, but getting those rocks up and then deterring defog with Bisharp. You accumulate so much damage, and between rocks and fake out, it really helps Mega Lopunny or Bisharp clean up in the end of the game. So I think his team would be like, not dramatically, but I think it would be exponentially better with a really reliable rocker that's going to always set up rocks for his team. So I hope you guys like these. I hope I'm doing an okay job. I definitely do miss things. My rating is not be all end all. I just wanted this to be something fun and visual for you guys to see and represent your team. So I hope you guys continue to come and watch these. I hope I get better. Yeah, let's move on to the next one. Thanks for coming, guys. So doubled up with William in this team analysis will be Matthew H from the NCPL, or the National Competitive Pokemon League. If you guys are new to these, or this is your first one, there's 5 attributes there: offense, defense, speed, hazards, and momentum. Each is rated out of 10, worst being 0, best being 10, and then a maximum total score of max being 50 and 0, and worst being 0. So getting into Matt's team, he drafted Dragapult, Grimmsnarl, Cobalion, Eldegoss, Odino, Volcarona, Swampert, and Golbat, and Jolteon and Rotom. So right away, you spot the Grimmsnarl, you spot the Volcarona. So I mean, that's definitely what his team is going to be around. I expect him to bring Volcarona, even if the matchup is probably bad, because that's his win con. You take away Volcarona and his team's actually quite weak offensively, relying on Dragapult or Cobalion to run offense, or Jolteon to run offense. And we all know Jolteon's move pool is quite low. So Dragapult obviously making up for move pool and being able to run physical or special, and then having Infiltrator and an enormous move pool. So yeah, you spot the Grimmsnarl, you spot the Volcarona. He's obviously wanting to set up screens and sweep. Do so in a draft league where differential is important. I think that was a fine draft to make. He definitely wants that high differential. So screens and Volcarona will do that, especially a bulky Volcarona set with Roost. And then you got Dragapult, who, like I just said, gets Infiltrator and a plethora of moves to cover. Can also be run in a utility way to, like we've seen, do Hex, Will-O-Wisp, Sub. It's quite annoying. It works really well because he's Ghost, he's really fast, and his defenses are, like dragons are. Their defenses are usually decent or good, so is very capable to do that, the Hex Will-O-Wisp. And then with access to U-turn, he can really set up his team. U-turn into that Volcarona on a good switch, get that resist, and then set up a Quiver Dance and start wall breaking from there, or sweeping. So that's offensively. Defensively, he's got Cobalion, which is a really phenomenal Pokemon in draft. Getting Volt Switch and enormous defensive stat, which I just looked up, which was 129 base, which is huge. So it allows him to run, a more offensive lead if he wants to, unless he needs it to check something. He can run it way bulkier. And then its speed tier is quite high. I think it was 90 is what it was. Let's see. No, sorry, 108. My apologies. 90 is a special attack, and HP. So it gets access to Stealth Rock, U-turn, Volt Switch. Sorry, not U-turn. Gets access to Volt Switch though. But to have Stealth Rocks, Toxic, and T-Wave, and Taunt, and his typing's good. He gets Stone Edge, he gets Close Combat. He gets Iron Head. If you wanna sweep with him, he does get Swords Dance. He gets Rock Polish. It's really there's a lot you can really do with him. He gets Poison Jab, Magnet Rise. You can get pretty creative with him. I didn't know he gets Combine, so that makes the creativeness go up even more. Although he doesn't have the greatest special attack coverage, so. But you get what I'm saying. A really phenomenal Pokemon. He can probably bring it almost to every single match. So moving on, then you have Eldegoss and Odino, which are just, you know, your typical regenerative core. I wouldn't say like they really work super well with each other, but to have two regenerators is good nonetheless. So both have Heal Bell or Aromatherapy. Odino able to wish onto things behind screens is going to be really, really dang annoying for anybody. And just being able to wish to bulky Pokemon in general, I mean, like Volcarona or Dragapult with some HP EVs is quite annoying. So, or, you know, wish passing into Golbat there. So, I already mentioned Volcarona, Swampert. So, I do want to say I think Swampert's a good Pokemon, but I feel like in draft he is so susceptible to Grass Knot, which is common on lots of Pokemon, or just HP Grass, and he falls victim to that very easy. So I would find it very hard to believe that there's going to be somebody in this draft that doesn't have any Grass coverage. I feel like that might have been, I think it was a tier 2 or tier 3 too. I feel like he could have drafted something a little bit better than the Swampert in that tier, especially because he's already got a lot of good defensive Pokemon. Cobalion sets up rocks just fine, so he doesn't really need Swampert to do it. And then you got your Odino and Eldegoss, so I just feel like Swampert's kind of there for not sure what reason, maybe setup, but like I said, the Swampert is super susceptible to grass. And Grass not being super common on Pokemon nowadays. I hope he can utilize this. I'd love to see Swampert come back and really shine and show how strong of a starter Pokemon this was. So I'm a big fan of it. I just feel like it really gets hurt in draft. So last two defensively that I can think of would be Rotom and Golbat. Golbat being phenomenal. Its bulk with Eviolite is honestly quite surprising. If you don't have knockoff, I feel like this is going to be a problematic Pokemon for you, as you can't Toxic it. It does get Defog, it has U-Turn. It is flying poison type, so it can also hit fairies quite hard. Yeah, if you're versing Matt, I really feel like knockoff is a must, especially if he brings Golbat. I feel like this thing can eat away at your team with Super Fang or just, you know, general chip with U-turn. So really watch out for that. I think that's a really strong pick that people overlook. So and then Rotom, it's Ghost type. It's going to help him resist those fighting type attacks that I think Cobalion is weak to, and I think Odino is just normal. I know the Mega is Fairy, but I think that's what makes Odino so low, is because it's still normal type. Yeah, still normal type. So, you know, resisting those fighting types is good with Rotom. Then, that way he doesn't have to risk his Dragapult. So, not to mention it also has Volt Switch, Will-O-Wisp, Defog, you know, spam Shadow Ball or Thunderbolt. I think it gets a couple other coverage moves. Let's just have a look here real quick. Let's see. What do you get? Gets Hex. So I mean, yeah, he can continue to do the Hex annoyance between Dragapult and Rotom. I mean, to have Stab base 120 a Hex move is really frustrating. Whether you have EVs in special attack or not, it still hurts. So as we've seen how much Cofagrigus can do with a Hex. So these guys have more special attack. Also gets Pain Split, does have screens as well. Outside of that, I mean, Thunderwave and Will-O-Wisp are really all and Toxic, so a utility Pokemon. I see it being ran with speed and HP EVs, but you know what I'm saying. It can be really run in a lot of different ways with Toxic or Thunder Wave or Will-O-Wisp, whatever's really needed for his matchup. So let's move into these individual attributes and why I rated them what they are. So his offense, I rated a 9. It's really hard to rate an offense with Grimmsnarl anything less than an 8, and he's paired that with Dragapult and Volcarona. So Volcarona, in my opinion, saying better than the Dragapult to pair with the Grimmsnarl, in my opinion. And the reason that I say that is because Volcarona can sweep a team on its own, whereas Dragapult kind of like, he comes in, he does a Draco Meteor or U-turns or he hexes you. Whatever he's trying to do, he kind of just does it once. It's not like he's really there a long time. He's not staying in for the entire match like Volcarona can. He's generally scouting, switching out, chipping or, blasting you with Draco Meteors. So the offense is, it's really combined of those three, and Jolteon and Cobalion are honorable mentions because Cobalion can run an offensive set. He's totally viable too. He has decent coverage. Jolteon, needed that special attacker type wall breaker to help Volcarona and Dragapult sweep or slash clean up. Not to mention it gives him an electric type with Volt Absorb to deter people from trying to Thunderbolt that Golbat. It's a really fast speed tier. It also has Wish and Protect, so it can do that if it really wants to. I highly doubt he's going to bring it like that, but it is available to him. Yeah, it's very simple. It's a 9. He's got Grimmsnarl with screens. It's always terrifying to verse. You must respect it to win against it. So respect the screens because they're going to do wonders for his team, and Grimmsnarl alone puts his team at an 8 on offense. So. And he's paired that well with Volcarona and Dragapult, so. Next we have Matthew's defense. I rated an 8. The Eldegoss, Odino, and Golbat and Cobalion are phenomenal picks. The double Regenerator is going to be pretty annoying to deal with. A strong wall breaker is probably needed against his team to break through these Regenerators. And threaten his team. So then you got Cobalion, he's a lead that's very rarely beaten in the lead role. Only really outled probably by like Landorus or something like that really threaten it and probably can kill it with just an Earthquake, even though its defense is so high. And then Golbat, like I said earlier, if you don't have knockoff, this Pokemon's going to be a problem all damn game because it is so bulky with an Eviolite. It's got good typing. Heavy duty boots is a thing, so he can run that too if he really needs it over the Eviolite. It's got Roost, it's got Defog, it's got U-turn, it has poison access, it has stab flying type attacks, which is great. Its speed tier is really not that bad considering it's not a fully evolved Pokemon. So here comes the allergies. And see, I would mention Swampert, but I feel like it's going to be very susceptible to grass, and I feel like he's going to notice that when he's building his teams. He's going to, double check the opponent's Pokemon. He's like, fuck, that Pokemon has grass knot too. Fuck, that person has grass knot too. Fuck, that person can one-shot me with hidden power grass. I think it's just going to be a problem for him, and I feel like as a tier 3, tier 3 or tier 4, he can get a better Pokemon that suits his team better. And I'll get into what Pokemon I think would suit his team better. But moving on, that defense is for sure solid 8. Cobalion being the very big focal point to me. Just a phenomenal lead with Volt Switch and Stealth Rocks to its move pool. So next up we got Speed. His speed tier is pretty good. Led by Dragapult in the 420s. Having that speed tier, like I said many times before, it outspeeds medium speed choice Scarfers. It also allows him to run that Hex utility set, which is quite annoying. And you must prepare for something like that because as we've seen him do, it really crippled the team. So watch out for that. But next you got, Cobalion, 346, I believe is what it adds up to be, which is a phenomenal lead speed tier. And then last you got Jolteon, 394, I believe, is what it comes out to. Timid. Do all of these work well together in the speed category? No, they don't work in conjunction with each other, but the amount of speed is something that's going to threaten people, because they're going to have to run Choice Scarfers to make sure that they don't get broken down by these fast Pokemon, or get Hex Wisp the entire game. So speed tier 7.5. Dragapult is really carrying that rating. So you honorably could mention Volcarona with Quiver Dance, puts it up quite high. Speed generally really isn't needed on Volcarona, since you can Quiver Dance. You usually run those extra EVs into HP or defense or something. So next we got Hazards. I rated an 8. Cobalion's really leading that 8 because his Stealth Rocks is so reliable. It's generally not stopped. So Stealth Rocks is almost always bound to go up with Cobalion in the team lineup. So Swampert can set up Stealth Rocks as well. While he can, I feel like Cobalion just outshines him in every single way. So he could run them together, but I feel like that really defeats the purpose of what Cobalion's role is per what Swampert's is because they're going to do the same thing, except Swampert's going to be destroyed by a grass move, whereas Cobalion can switch out. He can pair it with Eldegoss, but then I feel like how many times is Swampert going to be used and be used well? So although he's got that grass covered with Eldegoss and Volcarona, which he could bait into a Volcarona switch and then Quiver Dance, I just feel like it's a Pokemon that's using up a spot on his team lineup that could be utilized better without potentially losing a Pokemon, or somebody calling out the switch and then losing it even more Pokemon like Volcarona or Dragapult, or a Grimmsnarl if that's the case. So and then his Hazard defense, he's got Rapid Spin on Eldegoss with Regenerator, which is quite annoying. It's going to be very useful to him. I'm thinking that's probably going to be his best way to defog or Rapid Spin. That way he can keep the rocks up on the opponent's side, but he did draft a Golbat, so he obviously was concerned about defogging and not wanting to use Rotom for it. So Golbat and his Evolution Crobat are both really, really great defoggers. They have good resistances. Golbat being extremely bulky, usually surviving almost every single hit with Eviolite, so he's got very reliable defoggers. His Volcarona, of course, is times 4 to rocks, but heavy duty boots is now a thing. He's really got his hazards covered on both sides. Yes, Cobalion is the only hazard setter outside of Swampert, but that hazard setter alone is really a top-notch setter. It's almost always 99% sure that Stealth Rocks are going to go up. Its speed tier allows it to do that. Its defensive typing allows it to do that. Its stats allow it to do it. It's just the way it threatens Pokemon allows it to do it. It's a really great Pokemon to use Stealth Rocks on. So last, we have Momentum, which is 7. And while there is a lot of U-turning and Volt switching, I feel like the Momentum is still a 7. To have 3 Volt switchers is really an issue, because if you start to create that habit of Volt switching and the person does have a ground type to resist it and they can resist the other attacks, I feel like that's really, really going to slow down your team and start to make you predictable, especially if they're choice locked, like Jolteon normally is. So for example, you go to Volt Switch, well, they switch into that ground type. Okay, well, now you're stuck raw switching out and potentially having a Pokemon broken down. So I generally would like to see the Volt turn core between Cobalion and Golbat, since they can cover each other well, or Golbat and excuse me, Jolteon. So if he's running those two, Cobalion and Golbat, or Golbat and Jolteon, well together, I think that's great, and that deserves a 7 for sure. But if he's bringing something like Cobalion, Golbat, Jolteon, and Rotom, or like, Golbat, Jolteon, Rotom, I just feel like it's a little bit too much volt switching, especially if it's resisted. But with that said, if they don't have a ground type or a volt absorber or a storm drainer, there's volt absorber and there's another one I think for lightning rod. Sorry, not storm drain. If they don't have any of that, his team just momentum big time. Without a ground resist or a electric resist, I feel like that momentum is probably a 9. So his score could easily be a 41.5. But that's really dependent on what the opponent has and what they bring. So total score, I rated Matt's team a 39.5, which is at that really good level. It's Grimmsnarl and Volcarona carry that rating in my opinion. They're going to be his strongest Pokemon. I expect him to bring that to almost every single game. It's his win con in most cases. So can he win without either of them or one of them? Yes, absolutely. But is it going to be harder? Of course. So at the end here, looking at Matt's team, it's really hard to spot sharing weaknesses on his team. The most notable one would be Earthquake, but I mean that's covered with Rotom, that's covered with Eldegoss, that's covered with Golbat, that's covered with Swampert. Then he's knockoff weak with Golbat and Rotom, but that's covered with Justified on Cobalion. He's got Volcarona who's weak to rocks, and Golbat who's weak to rocks, but then Eldegoss can come in and Rapid Spin, and then Grimmsnarl's weak to poison and steel. Well, now Volcarona's got to switch, or Cobalion's got to switch in. He's just got good coverage. He for sure drafted Volcarona in mind being his focal point. I mean, Dragapult is there, but Dragapult is that utility Pokemon that helps Grimmsnarl and Volcarona do what they need to do. So overall, I think Matt's got a really strong team. I think he should be higher on the win-loss ratios. The Grimmsnarl is just so hard to prepare for. It's so hard to stop. So if people don't prepare for that, I mean, he's just going to run over them with screens and Volcarona, or screens and Dragapult. So hats off to Matt. Good luck in the tournament to you guys, or the league. I hope you guys enjoy these. I hope nobody gets mad or upset. These are just for fun, and I wanted something to visually represent everybody's team. So yeah, I hope you guys like the ratings. Keep on coming back, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks.